So MSNBC decided to do a little town hall with Trump voters in Pennsylvania, gauge the temperature for the upcoming Oz versus Fetterman election and Shapiro versus Mastriano. And man, it ain't getting better, dog. It's getting worse. As time goes by, it's getting worse. I'd love just once to have any of these major news outlets do let's do a town hall with Bernie supporters just to see where the left is right now and what they're feeling. No, that never happens. But you oftentimes get Trump voter town halls. Well, you're about to see why, because they make claims that they make special claims that make them interesting to analyze. So let's dive into it.
Doug Mastriano was at the insurrection, and he was photographed breaching one of the restricted areas. Is that okay?
Which area? Because I saw a video where Capitol officers were taking away barriers and unlocking doors for people. So,
they opened the gates.
So it shouldn't be disqualifying for an elected official if they participated in January 6th?
He didn't strike anybody. He didn't hurt anybody.
And the only one that died...
Okay, so... let's be clear that he does want to overturn an election that has been proven that Biden won. He just wants to hand it over to Trump. So that is by definition authoritarian. 62 court cases, Trump lost. And the Arizona audit, Trump lost. Even Trump-appointed judges were like, you got no case here, dog. Sorry. Dunzo. But this is a guy who wants to just turn the election over to Trump. So on that alone, it's like... to democratically elect people who don't believe in democracy, you're going to run into some problems there. I don't think they're going to be big on will of the people, if you ask me.
Was a protester there, not a Capitol police officer.
Unarmed female veteran.
That's the only one that died.
That's the only one who died.
A police officer.
Okay, by the way, that's not true. 4 police officers died. So... but classic, they're so confident when they say it too. In fact, let me run it back just a touch. Just listen to how confident they are when they assert this thing, which is just factually wrong.
The only one that died was a protester there.
Ashley Babbitt is who they're talking
female
about.
Veteran
That's the only one that died.
That's the only one who died.
A police officer did die.
No, it was a stroke.
That's not
on site.
Caused by that. That's because he shouldn't have been a police.
Okay, this woman's not going to ask the follow-up, but she should. What about all the things that were caught on video of protesters beating up law enforcement? Because that happened. What about that? Yeah, they're right that there was video of law enforcement letting in some people. There were some examples of rogue law enforcement that were on the side of the protesters. They're like, yeah, come on in. But there's also plenty of examples of they're being beaten by the pro-Trump mob. I wonder how they'd react to that, because I'm sure all these people are big on Blue Lives Matter. I'm pro-cop. Unless they disagree with me, then I'm anti-cop.
Officer, it was one woman.
So what do you make, though, overall of January 6th? Watching that footage, it was pretty disturbing. There were people throwing excrement at the walls, and it was it's the Capitol.
It looked a lot like Antifa's actions.
Yeah, it looked a lot, except on a much smaller scale. It looked the same as the Black Lives Matter riots.
That's what I saw the similarities to be.
Minneapolis burns, Kenosha burns.
But so it's okay just because one side...
All right, you guys are going to notice something here, and this has always been their problem on this issue. They go back and forth from, this was all a Democratic op, this was Antifa was leading it, they were the problem, so this event was horrible, but you got to blame the left. They go back and forth between that and sort of casually admitting, yeah, it was Trump people, but it was kind of based. It was kind of good. It's just people taking back the people's house. You're going to see, they keep going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. This is how you know they have a position, they have a perspective, they have a feeling, and they're arguing backwards from that belief. So it doesn't matter what argument they give to support their priors, as long as they're supporting their priors. So even if they contradict themselves in the process of supporting their priors, they don't care. So it doesn't have to make sense. It doesn't have to be logically consistent. Antifa did this and they're really bad, but also we did it and it was based. It's one or the other, dog. You have to pick one or the other. And notice the body language on some of these people. Like the woman with the blonde hair gets me, and the guy with the hat. They have this like standoffish body language, like, no, Trump's good. This was fine. Why are you even asking me this? This is really stupid. Like, this is like, they're just so, it's so culty. Everything about it is so culty. Because look, okay, here's a comparison. Go talk to any even hardcore Bernie supporter. If you say, hey, do you have criticisms of Bernie? You're going to get at least one substantive criticism. At least one. You'll probably get 4 or 5 from a lot of Bernie supporters. So we can support somebody, but then also be like rational and break things down and be nuanced. They don't have that ability. It's so clear.
You disagree with?
I'm saying Antifa infiltrated.
It's good for one, it's good for the other.
Anybody
I
who
don't see it
harms
that way.
anybody who caused property destruction, that needs to be dealt with.
Yeah,
but if you're
on
there
either
making
side.
your voice heard at the
Right.
people's house, no less,
Yep.
that's, again, it's a fundamental constitutional right of
Okay, so wait, which was it? It was Antifa, and it was bad, and it was violent, and blame the left, or it was the people's house, and it was cool that they were there, and it was okay because it's First Amendment right?
an American citizen. And people should not be being held political prisoner because of it.
For misdemeanors. That's East Germany.
That's East Germany.
Tactics.
Yeah, that's what's scary.
So it's not like East Germany and totalitarianism and authoritarianism for the former president to lie and say he won when he didn't and try to actively overturn the election, but it's East Germany to hold accountable people who broke the law when they tried to overturn the election. Got it.
It was an actual fiery but mostly peaceful protest. And the other ones that were the opposite.
Was the protest legitimate in your
Our
eyes?
administration, I
Because
feel like, is using it as their Reichstag fire.
Yeah.
That's exactly what they're using it as.
So in other words, when Hitler seized power, and got total control, got an iron grip on Germany, he's saying that's how the Biden administration is using this. So Hitler tried to get an iron grip on power, and that's analogous to Biden legitimately winning. But Hitler trying to get an iron grip on power is not analogous to Trump trying to get an iron grip on power. Like, the mental gymnastics, the way they flip everything is astounding.
do you think that President Trump could have quelled the violence that day?
Not him personally.
I don't think
no.
so, no. It started while he was still speaking. I was actually there. I was there to see what I thought was going to be the last time I ever saw Trump, little did I know.
So did he tell everybody to go and start rioting?
No.
I didn't think so.
No, and it actually...
Look at this. Look at that woman. Oh my God, this woman. Oh my God. I have met this woman many times in my life, and oh my God, there is not... She doesn't allow even the tiniest amount of doubt in her own beliefs. She doesn't question herself. She doesn't look for answers. It's all, I've made my mind up, and this is what it is. Look at my very serious face. I know I'm right. I'm going to run that back. Look at the way she says it and her face.
So did he tell everybody to go and start rioting?
No.
I didn't think so.
No, and it actually...
Come on, man. The most unlikable person on the fucking planet. Now, by the way, Trump did give a speech, and he said, we're going to march to the Capitol, we're going to march to the Capitol, and remember, folks, you have to take back your country, not with weakness, but with strength. And when he was told, hey, there are people that have weapons and they're trying to get in here, he said, let them come in. They're not going to hurt me with those weapons. He was telling Mike Pence, better overturn it, and don't do the wrong thing, Mike. Don't do it. The idea is, who, Trump, bro? He didn't even do anything wrong, bro. I knew what you guys were talking about, dog. He was all like totally like cool and stuff, and he just wanted everybody to like hold hands and sing Kumbaya and whatnot, bro.
Stayed for the whole speech, like a ton of people did. Mm-hmm. And then we all headed to the Capitol because he said, let's go to the Capitol and peacefully let our voices be heard. And we get to the Capitol and we're like...
Remember, peaceful, totally fine what went on. It was Americans doing their First Amendment right. It's that half the time, and the other half the time it's, yeah, it was violent, yeah, it was bad, but it was Antifa. That was...
What the hell's going on? Because it had already happened.
I'm pretty sure I saw Democratic operatives instigating people to cross barriers.
You were there.
You were there. No, totally. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's not... See, we couldn't do anything wrong because by definition, we are not wrong. We're the good people who believe in the good things, so when we do bad things, it's actually good. Or it's your fault because you instigated us or something. How mighty convenient! How mighty convenient, guys, for the love of God. Never, ever, ever be this close-minded and idiotic. Always question yourself, always question your beliefs, always be reasonable enough to have some critiques of whatever your side might be. Because this is just fucking insufferable, man. Jesus Christ.
Day.
Yeah.
What do you think?
No, I mean, why would he tell people to do that? Why did the people who did that not wait around for him to tell them to do that? He said that around the end of his speech, if I remember correctly. It happened before he even said that, I believe. Mm-hmm. I mean,
I think the timeline, didn't he speak? Because he was back at the White House and then he tweeted. So he tweeted.
Yeah, but after
people were still there
and stuff, yeah. But it started while he was still speaking, and they talk about the fact that, oh, he didn't do anything for this amount of time. It's like, well, he was giving his speech and.
Oh my God, no, he sat around for fucking hours waiting to see what would unfold, waiting to see how far they'd get. It took him a really long time before he was like, okay, I'll half-heartedly get out here and say, be peaceful, everybody go home, but you're very special people and I understand why you're upset. And you're correct, you're right about why you're mad. These people, they... Number one, I bet they couldn't name a single policy Donald Trump did. Number two, I bet they couldn't come up with a single criticism of him. This is the problem, man. Partisan hack thinking, tribalist thinking. This is a cult. You're watching cult shit here, man. You're watching cult shit. And I told you guys for the longest time, if you go 2016, you go back to 2016 iteration of Trump in those debates, his closing message, like all that stuff. There was a time when Trump postured as a populist. He always had super conservative views on social issues and some bigoted views as well. Mexicans and Muslims, we gotta shut down, total and complete shutdown of Muslims so we can figure out what the hell's going on. The Mexicans, they're criminals, they're rapists, I should have some good people. He always had those things going on, right? But then he also paired it with like, I'm not gonna cut your social security, I'm not gonna cut your Medicare, I'm not gonna outsource your jobs, the forgotten man and woman will never be forgotten again. These are all things he said. I would understand if some people back then were like, hey, my job was outsourced, Trump says he's going to bring it back, I'm going to vote for him, right? I get it. But after 4 years of him, and he didn't bring the jobs back, and he acted like a standard establishment Republican, and didn't improve people's lives, if after all this time, and then even after the election with all of his going full authoritarian, let me try to destroy American democracy because of my fucking ego, if all this time you still support him, I have no problem whatsoever saying you are TFG, dog. Too far gone. There's no doubt. You're telling me these aren't TFGs? We could bring in 100 different people with 100 different communication styles and arguments to try to convince these people. No. Trump is good. He did good. He never. No. He's good. He's good. You're bad. He's good. You're bad. It's just because, look, he hits them in the fifis, right? For these people, it's not about the policy. It's not about the substance. It's about he makes me feel special. I love him.
Why did Nancy Pelosi deny his request?
Actually, we have
several thousand National Guard troops.
Yeah.
Well, it actually isn't in Pelosi's power.
By the way, that's not even true. That's not even true. That's one of these things fucking Trump and the Republicans made up. That's not true. We have video now of Pelosi trying to get help from wherever the fuck she could get help from. Calling the governor of Virginia and saying, please, help us. We need backup. But they're spinning it like, she didn't even want help, bro. Why, this is on her. This is her fault. She wanted them to storm and stuff. These people, their lives were being threatened. You think Nancy Pelosi wants people who want to fucking kill her storming into her office? They had to hide underground. What are we talking about here? The amount of misinformation that these people have just gobbled up whole is astonishing.
to
was
deploy
his
National
to
Guard.
offer
Well, she's
them.
Speaker of the House. She has no authority over that whatsoever. And frankly, I think that's a good thing.
But even so,
Isn't she in charge of security?
If there was
the
that great
Capitol,
of a risk that she
Not
was
Nancy.
offered them, then why didn't she
anything.
preemptively beef up Capitol Police?
Right.
What she does have.
Yeah. Well, one of the problems here is that in law enforcement in general, there's a sense that, hey, if it's like right-wing white people and they're protesting, well, they're not going to cause any problems. So maybe we don't need to bring out the massive number of, security officials and really work overtime here and really prepare for the worst, because these guys aren't the problem. Because in law enforcement, they definitely lean more in the direction of like Antifa's the problem, BLM's the problem, it's the lefties who are the problem. These right-wing, what are you going to do? These are American patriots standing up for their rights. There is a lot of that sentiment in law enforcement, not among all law enforcement officers, but among a lot of law enforcement officers. And so that could have been part of the problem. That could have been part of the problem, but they were woefully underprepared, and that's basically everybody's fault in Congress and among law enforcement. So they're using this criticism and directing it specifically at Democrats and Pelosi, but this is also a criticism you could have of law enforcement and of Trump and the Republicans. But of course, Trump and the Republicans literally wanted this or something like this to happen, so they're more directly to blame, obviously.
The authority to do.
Capitol Police are there.
But apparently they were taken off guard.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there you go. This is real. This sentiment exists, and people live in their different media bubbles, and sometimes you forget that the wide variety of opinions and feelings that are out there, it's something that's a little difficult to digest. But you see it, it's real, and this is what we're up against. Now, the good news is, as we've said a million times, Trump is the favorite to win the GOP primary, but in a general, he would get draxed. Why? Because of what you're seeing here. The cultish level of support. The sycophantic nature of his remaining apologists. Every normie in the country, every independent, every moderate looks at that and goes, I'll take half-dead zombie Joe Biden with 1.5 feet in the grave over this stuff. Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You want to.